Um, where the fuck were we? Oh, we were gonna. So anyway, we were just about to talk about why Japanese. Oh shit, sorry. Why Japanese people don't have like or rather, why in certain countries like people don't really have a really profound understanding, and you can make this exact same argument about America as well, specifically about the Confederate South or American war crimes in general. The reason why is because the education system regularly whitewashes these sorts of things. Okay.
And I got my hands on a Japanese history textbook.
There's probably going to be TOS in this, for the record. I'm going to try to, I'm going to probably. They didn't really teach about World War II war crimes in Japan. My ex's Japanese mom laughed in my face when I told her about comfort women and said it was Western propaganda. Yeah. And if this doesn't actually showcase like Unit 731, which I think it will, also known as the Manchu Detachment 731. It's a covert biological and chemical warfare experimentation unit. If it doesn't mention it, which I think it will, I will talk about it in detail in a second. There's
But
definitely
this isn't an ordinary Japanese textbook. It's a very political one. And if you look inside, you'll see a version of history that is very different than the one the world knows. An example is the Nanking Massacre, the 1938 event in which Japanese troops murdered tens of thousands of Chinese civilians. To the world, this massacre is considered one of the most infamous
They're just showing the piles of dead bodies. That's why I can't show you.
war crimes committed by the Japanese during their takeover of Asia. But in this textbook, it basically gets no attention. It's referred to as the Nanking Incident. And the only attention it gets in this book is basically disputing the facts. There's no mention of the hundreds of thousands of Korean women who were forcibly brought over to serve in brothels on the front lines of the Japanese wars. They're these comfort women that are a huge part of Japanese history, but they don't show up in this book. When I was in Tokyo for a border store,
Did you see the Lily tweet saying yesterday was the best day ever? What the fuck? She did not. I'm having so much time. I'm having so much fun in Japan. It's the best day ever. It's like when fucking uh it's like when when the weekend tweeted. Best day ever. New OTK vid? We did what? No, offline TV, not OTK. Offline TV is in Japan, not OTK. Anyway, let's see if there's like more. I'm just like scouting through TOS potentially.
I actually visited the people who publish and write this book. It's this group of old Japanese men who are part of this lobbying society that basically try to push a different historical narrative into Japanese schools, and they've been quite successful. This textbook publishing society is one of many expressions of a rising nationalism in Japan.
I know she wasn't saying it about fucking Shinzo Abe's execution, chatters. Why are you correcting me? She was saying this is the best day ever because Nintendo is re-releasing Pokemon Puzzle League on Switch. Yeah. No, I didn't think she said this is the best day ever. Former Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, was executed. Like, it's Lily, man. Of course she did. Like, what the fuck? It'd be crazy if they did the same thing in US history books. Yeah, it would be. Thank God we have incredibly powerful women and women's groups that did not allow that to happen. Search Daughters of the Confederacy for more information. You know, one of many.
This is Makoto Sakurai. He's the public face for the Japan First Party. This group launched just a month after another right-wing faction across the Pacific Ocean.
I own some pants. Thank you for the 25 gifted subs, allowing 25 people to no longer see the ads and get a clear vision of the Japanese war crimes that we are addressing at the top of the hour, every hour, in this uninterrupted broadcast experience, as long as you have subscribed. But for those of you who haven't, well, GG's, you are going to see a motherfucking ad right now, unless you subscribe for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, where you get one free Prime subscription a month. Okay? Here's the 1 minute ad break now.
Took power of the White House, proclaiming a like-minded message.
America first.
Order from the Sonic app for a slush, tots, and free cheeseburger.
I'm on the slush.
Making the cheeseburger. Order ready.
Sonic Rewards. Get a free cheeseburger with any app purchase.
Hey Google, what's this song?
Hey Google, backyard lights on.
World War II greatness. Their agenda is similar to nationalist movements in other countries. They want to restore a strong military. They call for the deportation of Koreans and a limitation to the little immigration that Japan even has. I chased after these guys and filmed them for an afternoon, watching them spar with the Tokyo police.
欧米のね、あなたたちに言ってもなかなか理解はされないでしょうけれども、日本型の民主主義なんですね。天皇という存在が一番頂点にあって、で、それで何千年も日本という国は運営されてきたわけです。
This yearning for a return to some ill-defined golden...
Yeah, the democratically assigned emperor. Like, what do you mean? It's so stupid. The emperor just sits on top of the democratic process, you dummy. Are all nationalists xenophobic? I've talked about this before. Nationalism is a complicated subject because it can be an emancipatory force against imperialist action, colonial violence. But nationalism, once established as a nation state that is no longer that has, like, you know, well-defined borders and whatnot, it will oftentimes be fascist. That's why there is a difference between like Irish nationalism, which is like internationalist, ironically, in its perspective, and often has relied on help from other countries that are undergoing similar anti-colonial struggle, and also will routinely offer help to other countries undergoing colonial and imperialist oppression. Whereas or Pan-African nationalism is another another example of this as well.
Age is the basis of many far-right nationalist movements around the globe.
世界中の子供たちはもう本当に誇り満々として自分の国の国自慢をしますけれども、日本の子供はそれができない、そういうふうにまで日本は洗脳されています。
En réalité, on a appris à nos enfants qu'ils avaient toutes les raisons de la critiquer, de n'en voir que peut-être les aspects historiques les plus sombres.
For those of you who don't know, that's spit on you, the Marie Le Pen, who is a fucking also a fan of the fascists.
The main
disgusting. And her opinion is identical to the reactionaries in Japan as well. So, once again, what do I always say? Remember, if there's a clear through line between understanding or having a more global understanding of international politics and politics in general in like other countries, what you have to comprehend is that the biggest through line is the similarities between far-right reactionary movements in all of these other countries. That's why I always say, like, conservatives regularly shit on the conservatives of other countries for their conservatism, while simultaneously doing the exact same thing here. That's why you see, like, the white evangelical Protestants be like, man, I fucking hate the Taliban. Yo, fuck the Afghan government or whatever. And then they turn around and they're like, but we should do Al-Qaeda shit. That's the main thing. Right? And British conservatives will be like, oh, it's the Asian Muslim gangs are coming in to groom our children and rape them. And then they're like, you're a Tory. You literally do child fucking as a part of like being a cabinet member. You know what I mean? Like you have to fuck children as a Tory. And then you're over here fucking talking about how like, oh my God, the Asian Muslims, they're doing this. Like, get the fuck out of here. Right? So, yeah, it's in the Constitution for those of you who don't know. Also, oh my God, I'm going to be in the UK tomorrow.
Historical fixation of these nationalists is the 1860s, when Japan underwent a massive transformation, giving the emperor lots of power which he used to rapidly educate the people, grow the economy, and develop a massive military. Japan became an economic and military powerhouse in just a few years. And over the following decades, they did what powerful countries did back then. They started expanding, committing horrific atrocities like mass genocide in the process. By the mid-1900s, this aggressive expansion brought Japan into a natural alignment with Hitler's Germany, who was doing the same thing in Europe. And then, at the height of the Japanese Empire,
the bomb was exploded above the city, and in the towering mushroom, Japan could read its doom.
The US and Allied powers won the war. They came in, dismantled Japan's military, and wrote them a new constitution that ensured they'd never get so powerful again. To the nationalists, this was the moment that everything was lost. Japan was brought to its knees, stripped of the pride and national...
It's just so funny that he's saying this, but like, no. America literally fucking did that and then turned around and was like, all of those nationalists, like, don't worry, you're still in power, and we're going to do everything we can to ensure that you are the fucking people in power. So the idea that, like, America brought the Japanese nationalist movement to its fucking knees is so funny. They couldn't even kill the goddamn emperor and, like, reinstated the emperor after saying, like I said earlier, that it was no conditional release for the Japanese war criminals. That's why we have to nuke you guys, except no, we'll abide by the conditions of your release anyway.
National values thousands of years in the making, emasculated by these Western powers who are now occupying their country.
あなたたちのご先祖さんたちがたった1週間で日本の憲法を作り、そしてアホなことに日本のその人間が70年以上にわたってこの憲法を守り続けている。
アメリカに逆らえないような国民を作るということでは大成功を収めてしまったと。
In Tokyo, there's this huge controversial shrine called Yasukuni. It's where all the people who died in the wars under the emperor are memorialized, including all those who died in World War II. After Japan lost the war, a huge trial was held. Thousands were convicted of war crimes and thrown into jail, and even some were hanged. And what's tricky about this very beautiful shrine that I'm walking through is that over 1,000 of those war criminals are enshrined here and are prayed to every day. But a lot of Japanese people have a different narrative about what happened after the war. According to this narrative, the tribunals after World War II were not...
Yes. We claimed that we nuked them because they wouldn't drop the demand to keep their emperor. except we allowed them to keep their emperor. So I guess it wasn't that fucking big of an ask. It seems like there was another reason.
Not an impartial exercise of justice, but rather an emotional backlash against the atrocities that had just occurred during the war. So the fact that they're here in Yasukuni doesn't bug a lot of these people. In fact, they revere them and they worship them for their sacrifice to the emperor. All of the symbolism and memorials point to a glorification of the imperial period, not necessarily an apology for it. The shrine is at the symbolic...
Like, that's why the rising sun is considered a very controversial symbol. It's like for Koreans and for Chinese people, it is seen as no different than the swastika is seen in the West, right? And obviously, like, for that reason, like Bella Porch, if you recall, despite being Filipino, had a rising sun tattoo, and people were like, "What the fuck is that?" And many people don't know. Like, she doesn't fucking know. I'm 100% certain she didn't know. I mean, she's fucking Filipino. My grandparents used to get angry when they saw the flag, and it's still the symbol in their navy. Yeah, I mean, the symbolism is still kept in many parts. But the reason why she didn't fucking know, the reason why she didn't know that is because, you know, it's not taught. Like, Japan was able to absolutely fucking evade. It looks cool. I mean, it does. I know. Aesthetically, it does look cool. It's true. It does. It looks cool. But, you know, fascists love symbolism. They're very good at... I mean, that's a deliberate choice, guys. That's a deliberate choice. Saying that it doesn't look cool is silly. The entire purpose of symbolism, fascist symbolism, is so that it does look cool and it evokes a fucking feeling of pride and you know, reinforces the ideology. Nazis were very careful about their aesthetics in a similar capacity. That's why the common meme of like Hugo Boss designed their fucking suits. Like, all of that esoteric shit is deliberate. Okay?
The shrine is at the symbolic heart of the nationalist narrative, censoring any mention of atrocities and glorifying the imperial age as worthy of restoration. Upon leaving the shrine, I come across a right-wing group that was visiting the shrine to pay tribute to the spirits.
I tried hitting up your manager's email on your account. Is it usually a long time? Why? Chief Ken? Why are you trying to hit up my manager like, what's going on? What?
So it's tempting to draw parallels with what's happening in Japan with nationalism and what we see happening in the US and Europe with figures like Donald Trump. But while that parallel works for a little bit, it breaks down really quickly. And the differentiating factor that is the most important for understanding the difference is a word that we've heard a lot lately.
Populism.
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 Many of these movements in the US and in Europe have been led by outsiders,
Oh,
populists.
you work for Chuck Rocha? Yeah, my manager will definitely respond to that then. Oh God, fucking liberals, man. Populism is a weapon, okay? Populism can mean good things that are popular, or it can mean utilizing fake populism to instill reactionary ideology. Why are liberals so ahistorical about this kind of fucking populism? Populism bad is such a fucking stupid take because you can slap that onto anything. Oh, Democrats are running on fucking on a campaign of trying to codify Roe v. Wade. That's populist messaging. Why? Because it's literally fucking what? 70% of the country agrees that like Roe v. Wade should be codified. Bernie is a fucking populist. Okay? But not in the bad kind. Because he's genuine. with the emancipatory language he uses, and he's genuine with his understanding of all the struggles that the American working class goes through. So liberals love to stay in the fucking middle and act like populism is bad across the board. That's bullshit. And ultimately it's utilized as a weapon against the left, as well as like the far right. Meanwhile, ultimately the far right is still, because of their because of the way that they operate and because of their interest in upholding capitalist ideology or the capitalist economic order.
World War II saw
oftentimes it's not used effectively against the fucking. Oftentimes it's not used effectively against the right, but only effectively used against the left. And what I've always said is, and this is something I've said about Tucker Carlson so many fucking years ago, is that if you do not allow left-wing true economic populism to occur, and if you consistently undermine it, you are the only kind of populist messaging you're going to hear is going to be the inoffensive populist messaging from the right. Okay? That's why Tucker Carlson is the only person of prominence on national news, making it seem like he is on the side of the fucking working class in the exact same way that the Nazis did. Volkish politics also cared about the working class, but the right working class, right? The German folk. But it was National Socialism. Even though the socialism was simply just a symbol that they slapped on, because they were expressly anti-communist and anti-socialist. If you don't have a counterbalance with real left-wing economic populism, the only kind of populist messaging you're going to hear is from nationalist psychos. Okay?
Who want to dismantle the establishment. In Japan, that's not the case. People like Shinzo Abe are through and through establishment politicians. There isn't a disruptive figure who's coming in from the outside and winning elections. While the rise of right-wing nationalism is similar between Japan and the United States and the West, it's still fundamentally quite different. And it appears that the rise of a Japanese Donald Trump is still a ways off.